geoengineering, the public have had almost zero engagement, and I just wondered what plans is there in this case for geoengineering, for public engagement and public opinion, because I know if the public say no, it does put at risk the funding, which I know is one of the concerns, but is there going to be any public engagement at all on this subject?
Did you hear that number to do with public engagement? Do you think there should be more public engagement to find out what the public think about it? And are there plans on the national scale for that?
I would say that is one more difficult area. The assessment framework regarding ocean fertilisation and marine geoengineering more broadly talks about consultation, and it requires that the parties that have received a proposal for a marine geoengineering activity, ocean fertilisation in particular, should consult with states in the region that may be impacted. That's quite a difficult thing to define in the first instance. What consultation means, what states you could find as being likely to be impacted is also difficult to define. But then it would be, I think, largely up to the individual countries as to how that consultation should take place. In some countries, I suspect that the involvement of the public would be far greater. In other situations, I think that probably would be more difficult, either because of the political systems in operation or simply that the structures don't exist for public consultation to take place. I think there is also, though, a broader issue of public engagement. Obviously, it's one thing to consult on the specific proposals of whether a particular proposal for a certain activity should proceed or not. It's another thing to engage with the public at a much earlier stage as to whether this is the right sort of regulation for geoengineering activities. The London Convention Protocol is one model of doing things. It's certainly not perfect. And I think that what hasn't happened so much is that engagement more broadly with people more widely to say, if we're designing a system that is going to provide some level of confidence that the environment is not going to be adversely impacted by these activities, how should we design it? I think this is it's been I would say, an opportunistic way of doing research regulation on geoengineering rather than something that would perhaps have been designed from scratch if there had been broader consultation.
You've concentrated on regulation of marine. How much research has actually been done into solar radiation management regulation, and is it even possible to regulate? Because in the House of Commons report on the regulation of geoengineering 2010, it states that it's already tests are being done, albeit on a small scale, but then later on in the document it says it can't be regulated because the testing is going on in secrecy. It also says it can't be regulated because of transboundary issues in the atmosphere. So how could that ever be regulated, and how would we know if it was taking place already? Because a lot of us believe it is.
Well, those are good questions, I think, and I think part of the problem that we're always going to be dealing with any kind of geoengineering research activity is that the laboratory in which it's conducted, by definition, has no walls, no ceiling, and no floor. These are field activities. So you're instantly in a very difficult situation, firstly of trying to decide how you're going to monitor what you're going to look for, where you're going to look for it, and what the boundaries are for that. And that's very difficult in the marine environment. It's probably even more difficult in the atmosphere because of the complexity and the difficulties of even accessing the environment in order to collect samples and to monitor what's going on. I guess it would rely a lot on remote sensing techniques, and of course there's a question then as to just how much information that it gives us. I think the question of whether there are activities ongoing, research activities in the open atmosphere is an open question, but I agree with you that one of the difficulties is that there is always that concern about secrecy over these types of activities, and how in fact would the public know? How even would people who are more engaged engaged in geoengineering debates, how will we know whether these things are happening or not? And if so, under what kinds of control? And I think those are very difficult questions to answer. But probably even more so for solar radiation management techniques in the atmosphere than they are for the marine environment.
Rutgers University in New Jersey, and he's a lead author in the IPCC, published a vast amount of papers, done lots of work on nuclear winter as well, volcanic.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much for inviting me to give this talk. I'm going to talk about stratospheric sulfur geoengineering benefits and risks. They include this effect in their model.
The calculations, I think the preferred deployment would be jet aircraft, is that correct? I know there's other alternatives, but my point is, when you fly an aircraft at 30,000 feet or higher, for example, the 747 produces 12,000 kilos of CO2. Now, we might be cooling the atmosphere for 4 or 5 days, but this is going to be up there at 30,000 feet plus. It'll last up to 1,000 years. It's a net loss.
So we looked at using airplanes, and you have to get much higher than a 747 in the tropics. You have to get up to 20 kilometers. And so there are jet fighter planes and spy planes, the U-2, the SR-70 can get up that high. Dave and Keith worked with these people to put bigger wings on these Lear jets, and they can get up there. So there are specialized planes that can get up there. But indeed, environmental impacts of implementation was one of the things on my list, and that would include all the CO2 emissions from the fuel that you would be burning. And so that would be, you would have to be compensating for that. Now, maybe you can devise biodiesel, so you would be recycling the CO2, but that would be one of the consequences of doing it. That's right. Not to mention if you live by the airport that where it was continuously taken out.
Thank you for that, Doctor. I just wondered your view as regards what happened between 1940 and 1979. The Ministry of Defence conducted a series of experiments, and we didn't actually find out of that until 2002. Do you think that there's any possibility that this could be happening, and it might take 60 years again for us to know about it, as it happened in the past?
What kind of experiments did they do?
There were experiments, and there was an article in The Guardian about in relation to germ warfare. They wanted to see how British subjects would react.
Okay, so that's got nothing to do with climate change. Your question is, if there were secret experiments going on, we wouldn't know about them.
Exactly.
So is it possible that there are things we don't know about? Obviously, it's possible. And I'm sure that, what? All right, so, I mean, there could be secret things going on, and all kinds of things could be going on, including climate research. But like I said, if you want to control the climate, you're going to have to block out the sunlight. And we have the world, Europe, the US, China, Japan, many countries have satellites that measure the amount of energy coming in and going out of the atmosphere. We have a LiDAR in space that shoots a laser beam down and gets a reflection back and measures thin clouds in the stratosphere. It's called Calypso. There are many ground-based LiDAR systems that do that too. So we have a pretty good idea of what's in the atmosphere because of our observations, because we're trying to understand the climate system. And we discovered small volcanic eruptions like the Nadro eruption. You probably never heard of it, but we saw it put the aerosols up over the India, and over the next month or two loft them up into the stratosphere. And I was an author of a paper in Science about that. So we have a pretty good measurement system where we can see that. And that was so little sulfur that it couldn't have had a large climate effect. We calculated the climate effect of that. That was tiny. So if anybody was flying one airplane up and testing nozzles, they could probably do that and nobody would know about it. So testing the technology, one plane, one ship, that could be done in secret, away from somebody, and nobody would know about it. But if they were actually trying to look at a climate response, they would have to put so much stuff up there and do it for so long that we would see them doing it. In fact, during the first Gulf War, when the United States invaded Iraq, if the Iraqis had been looking at satellite images, they would have seen the contrails of the planes coming in, and, and even if they couldn't see them on the radar.
Okay, we do have a bit more time, so yeah, I'll take you there.
Alan, I'd like to recommend one more thing that you can add to your list of risks, and that would be mass species extinction. We are now living in the 6th Great Extinction, the biggest mass extinction since the dinosaurs died out 65 million years ago. We have 200 species of plants, animals, mammals, birds, and insects becoming extinct every 24 hours now.
So yeah, I agree. There's a mass extinction going on now, and that's part of why we call it the Anthropocene. But a lot of that is by human action. It's got nothing to do with geoengineering. It's because of climate change. The region where organisms now can live is the temperature and precipitation is changing, and so they can't move as fast as the climate velocity. And so so if geoengineering actually would reduce global warming, that would probably reduce the rate of extinction rather than increase it.
70% of those extinctions are fungal related due to the dark conditions caused by lack of sunlight now reaching the planet. NASA and many esteemed scientists like Jasper Kirby from the SRM.
Well, do you have another question?
Collider have acknowledged that jet trails are blocking out the sun, so solar radiation management is already taking place. So my question to you is, let's say you don't believe...
But you already asked the question. You're claiming that...
You didn't ask a question yet.
...going on with absolutely no evidence to support your
let's say
assertion,
it's not.
except for somebody's name who I've never heard of. So when I'm going into this question...
So you can ask the question then.
We're not allowed to film in here. Can you stop, please?
Really?
We're not allowed to film. I said at the beginning. And I said,
I didn't know.
yeah, we're not allowed to film in this.
Okay, I understand that. Thank you very much.
Since I was young, since I've begun to see the way, I love the clouds in the sky float on by. But now something has changed. The skies are the same. They're not the same. 'Cause now I see the light, fill up the sky, fill up the sky, and in front of my eyes, they cover the skies, in front of my eyes, and I don't believe the lies as to why they cover the skies, chemical skies. Oh, the chemical skies. Chemical skies, oh the chemical skies, and I ask why. If you agree, Gaia should be free, free from man and his over-controlling hand. And if you believe we should what she's meant to be.
This is Harry Rowe speaking. Thank you for all those who participated in this. We'd also like to say that if the mass population knew what was really going on, they would certainly not consent. And yes, people like Alan Robock and other scientists, they are completely at fault for allowing this to continue. When it comes out, I believe these people will be prosecuted. They have got major problems with their facts and information. They know what's going on, they are deliberately hiding it, and the truth will come out. We will make sure it does. We're getting the evidence, and there is a major problem with the evidence that they present to go ahead with geoengineering. We know there's ulterior motives, and absolutely the facts don't stack up, even down to the aircrafts they want to use producing 10 to 12,000 kilos of CO2 in 10 hours, and yet that's the main method of deployment. It just doesn't make sense.